Welcome to Espresso Jams, short, concentrated, delicious conversations about business, life, and more. And now, here's your host, Joe Matz.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Matz with Eagle Business Services, and I'm sitting here across the computer screen with Wendy Harrington of Tap This Group. And we were having a conversation the other day talking about confidence, and it got really interesting. So we thought we'd get together again and record it because it is a topic that's out there. It's a topic that I'm sure is interesting to many people. So as I mentioned, I'm Joe Match with Eagle Business Services with Wendy. Wendy, would you like to introduce yourself real quickly?
Oh, sure. I'm Wendy Harrington. I launched Tap This Group in January, mustering my confidence and getting my mindset right to do that. And I help businesses, small businesses that focus on offering services to usually to business, but some to consumer, to help them with their brand positioning, articulating their unique messages, and then helping them sort through all the morass of different media and options that they can take to build momentum to find a simple, straightforward path to higher profit revenue.
Okay, super. And the way the conversation started, we were talking about a lot of things. And at one point, I brought up a mastermind group that I'm a member of, and we are looking at at starting mastermind groups with business owners. And we're looking at a number of different software tools to help us with that. And the fellow who was running the mastermind group asked us to rate ourselves on our confidence level of how we feel ready to run the mastermind group. And I was, I think, the first or second person to go, and I said a 10. And everyone else went, and they were saying a 7, and they were saying a 6 because they need to learn the software and how to do it. Well, I got back into the conversation and said, I have to revise what I said because I'm certainly not an expert in the software. I don't know it as well as I need to know it to run the mastermind group with this software, but I'm confident that I can learn the software. And that's why I gave myself a 10. If I were to rate myself today, I'd give myself a 7. And I think it was a misunderstanding of the question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what started our conversation at that
Yeah.
time. Do you remember that, Wendy?
I do. I do. It brought me right back to an article that I had read. I want to say it might have been in Success Magazine or something like that. And it was focusing on some research that at that point was, I guess, relatively new, had come out that looking at men versus women and the way that they approach the idea of new opportunities. And I'll not get the exact stats right, I'm sure, but in general, men seem to feel more confident moving forward at a lower level uh, of actual true experience. Like they may only rate themselves, as you were saying, like a 5 or a 6 in the fact that they have actually done XYZ job before, but but they'll be a 10 in terms of going forward. And of course, this is not all men, but in general, this was what the study said. Whereas women feel like they need to be at a 10 already in their experience. They want to make sure they get it right. They're, perhaps it's a, too much perfectionism or whatever, or just the social constructs that we've been raised with. But but if you can get past that and recognize that that's just one set of assumptions, I guess, that you're going in with. Where are you holding yourself back because you are thinking you need to have everything perfect before you actually move forward? And I think maybe there's some similarity, or maybe something that comes up through I think software engineer, right? It's the minimum viable product. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
we have to treat ourselves like, what's the minimum viable product we need to have before we can take a step in a certain direction. You must see that a lot with different businesses, going through different phases, I would
Yes, I do.
imagine.
And I don't I want to be careful here. I don't want to get in trouble. But I have read research that says that a man will be promoted because of his confidence and the way he exhibits that confidence in being able to do what has to be done. where, like you said, a woman already feels like she has to have the competence
Hmm.
already,
Well said.
and she'll rate herself on that. And that's why one of the reasons we see a lot of men being promoted over women. It's
Hmm.
that exuberance of confidence, that extra dose of confidence that they exhibit. And confidence is very important, and it's looked at as competence. And I think a lot of people will confuse confidence with competence,
Hmm.
and that is extremely important. I certainly feel confident that I can move ahead and do things that I haven't done before. And it might be because of the way I was brought up and my experience. I moved to countries where I didn't speak the language. I started businesses that I was not totally comfortable with. I
Hmm.
didn't know everything that needed to be done, but I was confident I could learn and learn what was necessary. A few years
Absolutely.
ago, I read a book by Carol Dweck, and she wrote a book called Mindset. And it talks about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Very interesting book by Carol Dweck, written in 2007. And very simply put, a fixed mindset will say something like, I can't play the piano. I've never played the piano. I don't even play a musical instrument. My father, my mother, my grandparents, nobody plays a musical instrument. We just don't have that gene. How could I possibly learn to play the piano?
Hmm.
Whereas a growth mindset would say, I've never played the piano. It might be something I can learn. Other people have learned it. I wonder if I did what they have done to learn to play the piano, that I could learn to play the piano also.
Hmm.
And I think that's very important for moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And
think if you can tap into, no pun intended, your past experiences, where you have tried anything that's different, or you've done something with a lot of coaching or not, if you can look back and see places where you have moved forward despite feeling some discomfort, or not feeling 100% confident, you can start to build up, strengthen that muscle, so to speak.
strengthen that muscle. Very important. Yes, I think
Hmm.
so. So
Yeah.
3 years ago, I was sitting at the bar with my dad. I was about 3 beers in, and he looks at me and says, Joe, what do you think about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro? And I was
Oh
like,
boy.
well, I don't know. Can we do that? Is that possible? We're not mountain climbers, but we ended up taking the jump forward because we figured other people have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. The very young and the seniors have climbed Mount Kilimanjaro also. And we figured if they could do it, we could do it.
Hmm.
And we started training and actually climbed Mount Kilimanjaro
Oh my
2 years ago.
goodness. That's amazing. That is amazing. Have
Yeah,
you have you found it that, oh, I don't know exactly how to describe this. Maybe have that physical challenges or things that you gain confidence on that can apply across to some different type of things. So in other words, if you, by climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, did you find yourself able to draw on that when taking other business challenges?
yes, I have. And I think I drew on my business challenges for that challenge also,
Hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
I have a very high level of growth mindset. It's gotten me in trouble sometimes, I have to admit, not too much. But yes, I believe that if someone else can do it, and I think I got this from Tony Robbins at a very
Mm,
influential time in my life, where he basically said, if someone else can do it, if you learn what they learn, if you think what they think, if you perceive the situation the way they perceive it, and incorporate their emotions even,
mm-hmm.
that you can also achieve those results.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I can
I'm
see that.
I'm curious that you mentioned your business is new and you had to overcome some challenges with confidence to start your business. Did I hear that right?
Well, to some extent, I'd had businesses before, and my father had an ad agency, during my growing up years. So I came from a little bit of an entrepreneurial background. But each time you go to start something new, you want to go out with your best foot forward, and yet you have to be willing to adapt and kind of, go with the flow a little bit. This has been quite the year to adapt and go with the flow, well beyond, any expectations. So drawing on past successes and failures. I mean, learning from the things that didn't go well, at other times, but making sure that they get framed in a growth mindset, right? So how can I build on this to take on the next step? How can I learn something that I didn't know, or find help and insight from a different person to get a different perspective? Those things have all been, they've all been really helpful. And on days when things don't seem like they're going right, which thankfully, apart from our COVID life, haven't been too many. um, I think, like you, I can draw on some of the things from my years as an athlete, and sporting things. And one time in particular, many years ago, I attended a week-long thing they called the Enlightened Warrior Camp. I think it was a T. Harv Eker camp or something
Sounds
like
like
that.
fun.
Yes, it was amazing. And at the very last day, after taking on many different scary challenges, uh, came one that I said, as soon as they outlined it, there is no way I'm doing this. That's it, not going to happen. And by the time the night was over, I had, of course, done it. And this was to firewalk. And so they sent you home with a little piece of the ember, as a reminder. And so it is actually helpful. That's why I was asking you the question about am I the only one who sees as you being able to take things from one avenue of your life and apply it to another? And it is a little bit different. Stick-to-itiveness is a little bit different, and drawing on that inner confidence. But knowing that you have had to dig into different resources and trust in other people, and all of these components, definitely helps. It definitely
Yes.
helps.
Yes. And hey, Wendy, I heard you mention the word stick-to-itiveness. I love that
Yep.
word. I hardly ever hear that word. Maybe we need another talk about that. That is
Right.
awesome. So,
I do like to make up words.
I don't know. I think that one should be in the dictionary. That's an
Right.
important word. So, any final words on confidence that you'd like to leave the audience with?
I would say, that really, when you are at a place where you feel like you could be drawn to something rather than running away from something, the power of that magnetic pull, uh, that's what you really want to harness to be able to move forward, I think. And if you are struggling with whether or not that confidence is well founded, uh, make sure you have a few people around you who you can go to for that support, who are also not just, they're going to cheerlead everything, but people who you feel you can trust, to really help you sort through your emotions and your logical decision making.
Yes, very good. And I do know that has been very important for me in business, as in my athletic endeavors also. Yes,
Yep.
and I would just say, if you're listening to this and you've made it this far, congratulations. We've gone over 10 minutes. And if you have confidence issues, take baby steps. There's nothing wrong with taking baby steps. There's nothing wrong with starting out slow and building those muscles. And that's true in athleticism. That is true in business. It's true in relationships. Take those baby steps, and tomorrow you'll take another, and then another, and another, and you will reach your goal.
Well said. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Wendy. It was great talking with you.
And thanks everybody for listening.
Thanks, everyone. Go out and do something.